Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. We're getting to part 2 of Bulgar bread that we're making. We have to add another cup of cold water to our culture. As you can see, here's my culture. And that's what it looks like. It's got a, no, this one's not. Some of them are very hard, but you just stir it and you don't have to worry. This is such a simple bread. It's got very few things in it. All right, then you're going to need, because I'm doing all this, you're going to need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And you're going to need a cup of bulgur that we already talked about and how to fix it yesterday. If you want me to repeat it, I will. What I stated was you take a 1/2 cup of bulgur, put it in 1 cup of milk. 1 cup of milk. Cut that. 1/2 cup of bulgur with 1 cup of water. Put it on a low flame. Let it cook until it dries out and it's done. You can taste it to make sure if you question it and are unsure. Now you really don't have to add any wheat germ to this because the bulgur has protein in it, and it has your B's, your minerals, your amino acids, and all. You already have that. The only thing I'm going to add is maybe 2 tablespoons of powdered milk just to increase, to make sure you get that extra calcium that you need for your joints. Because remember, this is dry milk. So, because it's powdered, you don't have to drink or add a ton of milk to get it. You can use a little and it can go a long way. If you use it throughout the day, every time you cook and stuff, you'll find out that you'll get more calcium than you realize and more added protein. I need this to feed my yeast with. So you just stir all of this in. That's it. And we'll start adding flour and get this going. And this is all-purpose flour I'm using. We're going to add a cup. The reason I stir it after I add so much flour is so I can see the texture and see how it's reacting. So I'll know if it's ready to be poured out onto the counter or not. This is what it looks like when I'm getting ready to move it over to knead it. I'll show you. See, it's still tacky, but it's more together, and then I can work with it. Now, if you beat the bread, the batter, that's as good as kneading. Now you can't knead this right away, so you have to throw flour and flip it and flip it and flip it until it's at a point where you can knead it. That's why I show you all these steps. And you'll see as you add the flour into it, it starts acting like it's ready to be kneaded. See, it's starting to hold together. This is where you say, okay, you're getting ready to be kneaded. See, that's how it works. Poured about 3/4 of a cup onto the counter after I added all that. Just going to work it in, and we'll get the pans going, and we'll shape them. And kneading is a quarter turn and then pressing down to push it away. That's all it is. This seems this is going to be a light bread. Okay, my hands, and you're going to need 1 pound loaves. If you don't know what a 1 pound loaf is, it's a, I think it's an 8.5 by 4.5. That's the size. Those are called 1 pound loaves. 2 pound loaves are 9 by 5s. Always remember that. I have to get this off so I can grease them. Yes, do grease them. I've learned a few things in my life. Though they don't say grease or greasing, because I do know what it means and the steps that they might leave out. That's why they had a home economics for us and everything else. And mothers passed down the knowledge. And we had Julia Child She was one of the first cooks, and she even did a program to make sure that young ladies learned how to cook and learned these terminologies so we would know what we're doing in the kitchen. Another thing you should know about dough is if it's risen in your fate and you're going to grease and you're afraid it's going to drop, because once it drops, it's dead. What you do is punch it down and then do what you have to do and then come back and knead it. Now this is going to have to rise up to an inch over the rim, and then it will be ready to cook. Now see, I knew this was going to stick because I let it sit for a bit by itself. You need a little more flour. A little too tacky. I do have to handle it, so. You sit on that flour. I'll get more here to work this one. Now I have a whole wheat Bulgar one recipe where you use the wheat flour and you add the Bulgar into it. So you have the kernel that's cracked as well as the whole wheat flour. As you can see, this is a very moist dough. I'm going to put them over here. We're going to wait for them to rise. That might take all day because it's still cold. I just don't know. So I'm going to tell you the temperature to cook it at. Once it's 1 inch over the rim, then you're going to bake them. And I'll tell you the time and how long. Then you have to get them out of those pans and put them on a rack to cool right away. I will show you how my loaves look at the end, but I have other things I have to do today. And I don't want to keep my phone tied up all day. Oh, God. Okay. All right, so after it rises 1 inch above that rim, they say it'll take 2.5, 3 hours, but the weather is cold, so it's going to take longer. If you're where it's warm, it might do it a little faster. Just keep an eye on it, all right? You're going to bake it at 375 degrees, and you are going to cook it for 45 minutes, okay? Then you have to get them out of those pans and get them on a rack and cool. I will be back after mine are done cooking. All right, so then we'll see how they look. See you then.